Boom. Okay, let's see here.
Is this a Geek Savants pop out episode?
Yeah. All right, here we go. Let me get my water. All right. Welcome to the Geek Savants pop-out episode, Secret Wars. This is going to be a sub-show where Grant and I go over one of our all-time favorite comic series, Secret Wars, as you can see by my background.
The best.
So this is, obviously the comic came out in 1984-85. It was Marvel's kind of answer, I guess, to Crisis, but also, what do you say? There was like their response to other things.
It was before Crisis.
It was?
I think.
Oh, I thought it was post-Crisis.
No,
We've already failed on this show. This show has failed already.
I'm pretty sure it's before.
Realistically, though, why did they put this series out?
Because DC had superpowers.
Oh, right.
I figure.
So they had just put out their like superpowers line, and they were doing, wasn't superpowers was like an animated, they took Super Friends and turned it into superpowers, right?
I think it was starting from that. But then when they had all the dark side and all of his peeps, that might have been from Crisis, but I don't remember.
Well, Darkseid's been around before Crisis, so I mean,
right, but he wasn't super mainstream.
Well, let's see.
I think you gotta look it up.
Crisis on Infinite Earths is from Oh, Grant is correct. It's from 1985, so it was after this series. So Crisis is the answer to Secret Wars then.
Right.
I did not know that. So really, this is about like the toys and like that they wanted to combat the toy line of superpowers.
Yeah, because Marvel didn't have shit.
And so they go to Marvel and they're like, "Hey, do this." And Marvel is like, "All right, so we'll just basically," they're like, "We need all of your best dudes. We need every like best dude possible."
But on top of that, they also said that we want something to tie it in, a la G.I. Joe, where they wanted a comic book to go along with it. So it was all kind of, they could market it or whatever. And
yeah, this is in the days of Transformers, G.I. Joe, where they would just pop a comic book out and then it would tie in with everything. Yeah. And what's so funny about this is, and we'll get into the toys later on in this show, in the series, but the toys failed miserably.
Not in my heart.
I know.
They're some of the best ever.
In fact, the second line, which was like the Wave 2, had the better figures in it. Like the Hobgoblin and the Falcon and stuff were incredible on that one.
Amazing, yeah. Paint jobs not so much, but
no, the paint jobs and Doc Ock's arms not so much, but yeah. It's funny, I was reading something about Shooter and the toy line, and I thought you'd get a kick out of this. He says that they went through a number of ideas for names for the toy line and series. Yeah. And the Mattel's focus group tests indicated that kids reacted positively to the words wars and secret.
Oh my God.
Like war and secret. So we'll just put those two together. Secret Wars. So there you go. Did you know that this was originally called Cosmic Champions?
I did not know that.
Yeah. Like, I think they originally, like when they first talked about it in Marvel Age, they were like, do you remember Marvel Age, by the way?
Yeah, of course.
And when they first talked about it in Marvel Age, it was referenced as Cosmic Champions.
Huh.
And then the next month, they put out the next Marvel Age, the infamous Marvel Age that we'll talk about in a minute, but that it by then, a month later, was already known as Secret Wars. So I think originally, because of, I don't know if I looked for it in the first issue, but Cosmic Champions would be something that the Beyonder would have called them, because that's what they thought. They were like, we're bringing together the Cosmic Champions to fight against each other, kind of a thing.
Right.
Has a very Contest of Champions vibe, doesn't it?
I think that's probably where they were coming from, because Contest of Champions was the very first Marvel miniseries, and it's kind of similar in the way that they're all, these groups are coming together to battle each other.
And what's funny is that, like, so if they had, this is like a sliding doors moment. Like, let's say they had called this Cosmic Champions. Would we be seeing now, like years later, Cosmic Champions 3 or instead now everything is Secret Wars 2, Secret Wars 3, Secret Wars 5, Secret War, not even Secret Wars.
Right.
It's just a singular war, So, all right, well, let's get into the issue. The whole series is written by Jim Shooter, who was the editor-in-chief of Marvel at the time. He became the editor-in-chief in '78. And what's cool is that, I mean, he in my mind, the old man I am, he like oversaw some of the best stuff that they did. This is some of the stuff they put out in his run. Byrne and Claremont X-Men, Byrne's Fantastic Four, Frank Miller's Daredevil, Simonson's Thor, Roger Stern on the Avengers and Spider-Man, Secret Wars, Punisher. I mean, this is all some of the stuff they put out under Shooter. So he might be the best editor.
He might be.
I put him. Well, who's the guy that just left? There was a guy that was just there for a long time and left. He was one of the best ones. Was it? No, it might have been before him then. I don't know.
DeFalco.
Anyway. All right. Did you know Shooter also founded Valiant?
No.
Yeah.
No, I might have known that. Yeah.
He's the guy that brought Valiant out. That's kind
of
wow. All right. So let's get into the first image. This will be a let's see here. Let me go here and then I click this. Okay. So this is it. I mean, do you remember when you saw this?
I peed my pants.
This is incredible.
It was just the best.
This is like one of the most, I honestly, personally, in my opinion, is probably to me in the top 2 or 3 iconic covers ever.
Yeah.
I just don't know what to say. I mean, this image is incredible. Everything about it, from like Thing to Spider-Man to the way the Hulk is coming at it, and like, I just love Cyclops' fingers. Everything about this cover is incredible.
So let's talk about Zek for just a moment, because before this, I didn't know who Mike Zeck was.
No. And it's funny. He had worked on Master of Kung Fu a little bit, right? He'd done I think he had already started doing some of his G.I. Joe covers at this point. But this was like his first major thing.
Right. And he wasn't even really on my radar. And back then I was still kind of, this is what, 84. I was still searching out like what I liked and didn't like about comic books. And I wasn't all in on collecting artists and stuff like I was maybe later in the year or the year after. And so to me, it was just like, oh, I love the art, but it was not on my radar.
Another one of our favorite comics that we did just talk about was, and just mostly because of the first issue cover, would be Contest of Champions. And it kind of has that same vibe of like, look at all these superheroes on the cover, that kind of a thing. But this is obviously like the much better honed version of that.
Because with Contest of Champions, it was just a bukkake load of characters from everywhere. I mean, they had Sabra for God's sake, and Shamrock and shit like that. This is Avengers, X-Men, and a Hulk and a
Now the funny thing about this, and what I talked about earlier about the Marvel Age, which was a weird book that they put out, like it was a 25-cent book. It was like basically news about Marvel.
Yeah.
I never
got them. You always got them, and
I don't know why. Why it was a quarter. I was like, fuck it, I'll get it. But like this one right here is very interesting, because this is the original cover of Secret Wars. Now, what do you notice different about this?
You got little Miss Kitty Pryde.
That's right. Okay. Like, look at old Kitty Pryde over here. So I read a little something about this, is that when they first had Zek, they were like, Zek, buddy, we need a banger of a shot that we need to like advertise for this fucking thing. And so what they think happened is that somebody on the editorial staff told Zek, just draw everybody who's in those teams right now. And so he drew Kitty Pryde, and then Chris Claremont came to them and was like, I don't really want to use Kitty Pryde in this right away. And so they held her out on this, which would be very interesting. They, Shooter says he never had any plans to have Kitty Pryde in there. But I think that obviously if we're looking at her and we're going over to see this big Ruski over here, there's a lot going on that if she was in this book, it would have been a totally different book, I think.
Right. And where's Thor?
Where is Thor? I'm looking at the OG. He's not on the original cover either.
Yeah.
That's interesting. What's funny is, and this might explain it, and this will kind of lead into what we're talking about in the book, is that these books actually all were a crossover. There was kind of a weird crossover that led into these books. So at the end of Amazing Spider-Man, like 251, 252, or the Avengers 242, Cap 292, Hulk 294, Iron Man 181, FF 265, Thor 340, and X-Men 178, all of them show up at Central Park. They're drawn to these like large objects in the middle of Central Park, and they're all drawn there for some reason. And Thor wasn't even on the Avengers. He actually had literally just rejoined the Avengers at the point they were in Central Park. Like I don't know whether that was editorial, but it was like, oh, hey, Thor, welcome back to the Avengers. Now let's go check out this thing in the middle of Central Park.
Yeah. Yeah, he was off on his own Asgardian adventure, and then he showed up.
Yeah, and then was just like, cool, I'm ready to go. And so what was funny, it was like, I went and read a lot of the endings of these books, and they show up, they all kind of like walk in, and the X-Men are in their street clothes. Like a lot of them aren't even, some of them aren't even with the team. Cyclops isn't even with the team. They get inside and they're like, oh, it's so peaceful and calm in here. It's almost as if this thing is calling us in to inside, and then bickety bam, we get to our first page. So let's see, where is our first page? This is the first splash.
Oof.
Look at this thing. This was your image you picked. What drew you to this image there, Granty? I mean,
it was, I don't know what it is, but I love the Iron Man.
I know, isn't he the best in this one? Look at that. What's he singing for?
I know. I love that he just hops out of the group and he's like ready to go, and and then the whole fantastic Mr. Fantastic, with his $5 words, and then Hulk saying, "That's very obvious, Richards." So you right away that you're dealing with a Banner, smart Hulk, and something crazy going on that no one knows. And I love the very Kirby-esque background.
Yeah.
The machinery. Oh my God. It's so good.
I do. I love the little things that are that took them to this area. I don't even know if they really ever get named, but they're
they're like constructs or something. Yeah.
Yeah, they're really cool. Or as Captain Marvel calls it, a giant whatchamacallit in Central Park.
Right.
Yeah, I love that. We got our team here. Hulk is a complete dick, and that's going to be a theme that we'll talk about as the episodes go on. He is a complete asshole in this book. Pretty much the whole thing. I mean, there's not he's really not the Hulk that we're used to in this book. He's kind of half and half Hulk. I love it. And then Magneto is in there, which is interesting.
I never even noticed Magneto until later when they focus on him.
I know. It's funny you mentioned that. I don't know if I've really noticed that he was in that group right away.
I know.
I do like that Hawkeye's reaching for a bow. That's really dope.
Yeah.
Zekhat really nails. I love Zek's Colossus so much. It's such a good. He does a really great Colossus. As we go through panels and pages, one of the things that I noticed is
anytime Wolverine's on the page, he's front and center. Even on the front cover, he's right next to Cap, and he's actually a little bit bigger than Cap. And he's always in the middle front of a scene, and he almost always has dialogue too. I don't know if it's Marvel saying, hey, we won't, he's our new most popular character, you got to do that, or did Zek just love him and draw the shit out of him? I don't know.
Right. I wonder at what point did they all turn to each other and say, fucking Wolverine, man, that dude is gold. Maybe when he's in the mud under the Hellfire Club in the sewer or whatever, maybe they were like, God damn, this guy is gold. I mean, because they did start pushing him really hard after that. Okay, so now out of this page, was there anybody in 1984 that you were like, who the fuck is, I don't know much about these people? Is there anybody in this shot that you were a little confused about or didn't know much about?
Back then, I wasn't a huge Captain Marvel fan, but I knew who she was and basically what she could do. Other than that, I was pretty cool with everybody.
All right, let's check out.
I did not know Iron Man's secret.
Ooh, you didn't?
At that time, I did not know. I was not reading it, I don't think.
Ooh, I like that.
Or I forgot.
Yeah, right. Let's see. Okay, so that was our first page, and sorry that for some reason they love to put these things out of order now. All right, here we go. Here's our second page.
You knew who was in the Iron Man suit at that point?
I was reading Iron Man at that time.
Okay.
So I did. I mean, obviously, just from that page, I was not aware that it was Rhodey, but I knew that at the time that Rhodey was in the suit. I mean, when they have it almost seems like they would have put Tony Stark in there just to be like, oh yeah, we want the most popular dude.
But that's great that they didn't.
Oh, it adds so much to the story, I think.
Yeah.
Honestly, having him in it really makes it great. All right, this is my page, and I kind of picked this as a bookend to your page. We get a great shot of the construct in the background, which I really love. This thing is cool. And then we got all these weird Kirby bubble things. I don't even know what the fuck's going on there.
Yeah.
But okay, now when I asked you that last question, this is the page where I was like, who the hell are all these people? I obviously knew who some of them were, but if you wanted me to tell you the origins of some of these dudes right off the bat back then, I could not have done it, especially this dude right here.
Oh, wait.
Molecule Man.
I had no clue who Molecule Man was, and I barely knew who Kang was.
I might even say I kind of didn't know who Crusher or Absorbing Man, and I knew
the Wrecking Crew because from a couple things from Marvel Universe, the first series, and I really liked them, and also between Avengers and Thor, they were they were in it, and so I knew about the Wrecking Crew. Molecule Man, I didn't know anything about, and Kang, I knew he was an Avengers villain, but I didn't know anything really about him.
I'm going to spoil kind of the rest of this series real quick with this statement, but Kang, not used at all like Kang should be used in this. But he's the one character that I'm like, man, they just basically turned him into, he was basically no better than Dr. Octopus in a sense. It's he was just a bad guy. And Kang is as powerful or as important in the world as Dr. Doom in a sense. He's got as much. So, but what I really wanted to talk about in this, what the fuck is Galactus doing there? Why would you think they would bring Galactus in?
I know. That's crazy.
And at the time, I was not a big Galactus dude. I didn't know a lot about Galactus then. They hadn't really, he was the Beyonder of his day.
Right.
Which we haven't really talked about the Beyonder, but he was the Beyonder of his day. And I didn't know who he was, and so to see him here, I was like, who is this big guy? But now that I know who Galactus is, I'm like, big choice to have Galactus in this book.
This was my first introduction to really who he was and what he was about, and it got me so much into Galactus and reading about him and doing a little bit
Right.
of research, and then now he's been one of my favorites since then.
Funny, like that this book almost not humanizes him. I don't want to say humanizes him, but in a sense, like brings him down in
Humbles him.
scale
Yeah.
into like a place where you do think of him as a villain along the same level as Doctor Doom or Ultron or something. I don't. It's very weird. He's an interesting character that they brought in.
Another weird thing is, why do they have Spider-Man villains and Avengers villains and even Thor villains, but no X-Men villains?
Magneto.
Other
I see what you're
than
saying.
Magneto.
Right.
But
Yeah, I wonder. That's a good question. Yeah, that's real because as we'll see later on, they really wanted to put the X-Men in the middle. They did a lot of like, can we trust these guys? Whose side are they on? They did a lot of that. So maybe that's where they wanted to go with them and have them be kind of in the middle, which kind of sucked for me. I honestly wanted them to be with a lot of them, but we'll talk about that later. Here is Jesus, where did these things go? Here we go. I can't see it when I share it with you. All right. So this is the Beyonder. Okay. The Beyonder has brought all these people here and they're all kind of confused. And then all of a sudden, this galaxy just like disappears. Now you picked this page. Did I pick this page? No, I picked this page, didn't I?
I picked it, but I think we
both.
You
did? Okay. Can
so
I tell you what
I
loved? Oh, go ahead. No, you go ahead. It's your page. I want you to tell me what you love.
So for me, it was the very first time that they really showed the scale of like what we're dealing with, and how Galaxy is just wiped away like it's nothing. And for me, that bottom panel says it all. With Thor has this like almost scared look on his face, and certainly Iron Man, and just that perspective. And I don't know, it was kind of magical. It was like you really need to look at the scale of everything that's going on and what they have to deal with.
Yeah, I don't know if I really noticed this before, but is that the Beyonder up there? Is that him, the little star? Is that what he is? Is that supposed to be him?
I always took it as that's the one star that their planet is next to.
Oh, okay.
Like he's wiping away everything, but there's one little star that they need to live.
All right, so I'm going to tell you what I love about this page. It's a great page. I think it's fantastic. I would have picked it, but my favorite, the reason I would have picked it, the toning on Iron Man's face.
The zip tone.
Ah, it's so good.
It's amazing.
It's so zip tony. I love it. It's like incredible zip tone. I love that page. Leads into let's find our next page, which is really good. It's also here, this comes in between this. Here's this one. All right. Oh. So this page you picked, and I love this page. Did I pick this page? You picked this page. I love this page.
And I specifically just chose this part of, this is only half of the page, but it was such a beautiful encounter between, I mean, it just shows who Ultron is and who he thinks he is. He thinks he's the most powerful thing, and he wants to destroy all, sentient life. And then Galactus he's like a gnat. He's nothing.
Well, like this, what's funny is that this kind of book right before this, so Ultron's getting all uppity. I hate all of you humans. You're all flesh bags. I'm the awesome robot. And like Doom is like, this dude's, I need to get a hold of this situation and stuff. So he gets Molecule Man, who we don't really know much about. And Molecule Man kind of expositions that I am the master of all molecules. I can control, like, I still never understood his power, but he doesn't want to destroy Ultron, but he basically makes Molecule Man push Ultron into Galactus's foot, basically.
Yeah, he bumps him.
And then this is what happens. And I think it's great is like what we're talking about is that we've never really seen a couple of these. Ultron was known to me, but not by a huge amount. Yeah. And to see this encounter where Galactus just snuffs the life out of him like he's nothing.
Yeah.
And Ultron is like, as he's being dragged up, he's like, I got adamantium body. I don't give a shit. This is nothing for me. And it's just like, nope, he gets snuffed out right away by Galactus. It's a real wild page right there. Great. I love that the vision of the wrecking crew absorbing Man and Doc Ock down there in that third page.
Yeah.
So incredible. God, I love a Zek mouth. All right, so then this page comes. So then our dude Galactus gets real like, I want to like, you know, Beyonder, you ain't shit.
I want. He says that you can satiate my. You have the power to satiate my hunger.
Okay, so the Beyonder comes out. The only thing we hear from the Beyonder is, I am from beyond. Slay your enemies and all you desire shall be yours. Nothing you dream of is impossible for me to accomplish. And they all go, I just believe everything he says. Like they all buy into it right away. And Galactus is like, first off, bro, I'm Galactus. Okay. I don't know if you know me, but I fucking eat planets. And so he's like, I'm going to come and you just have to deal with me. And so he takes off towards the Beyonder and fucking Doom totally tags along. Like, what's up with that?
Yeah, Doom is so power hungry in this whole series, even more so than I had ever seen him before. And he's just like, I'm gonna get whatever scraps that Galactus doesn't get.
I know, and he just like tags along with Galactus and like basically gets snuffed out with Galactus. Like they end up like plummeting back to the battle world. It's so ridiculous. I can't believe Doom is like so. This really like ramped up how crazy I thought Doom could be in Marvel Comics, like for sure. By the end of issue 12, I was like, fuck, Doom is like nuts.
Doom is the best.
All right, so let's see. So we moved on from that. We get down to the battle world. Now, what is the battle world? We didn't share a battle world page, but you can look in the background of you. And what is battle world?
It's just like areas. Well, at first we think it's areas from Earth, but then we later find out that it's chunks from all these other planets, which play a huge part in the story.
And Beyonder has basically brought chunks of planets together to form a Earth or a planet, basically, where they're all on, and they call it Battle World.
Yep.
And their job is to what? Fight. They just basically say like, beat each other, and whoever wins, your desires will be granted. That's the gist of it.
Yeah.
Classic. I love it. All right, so then they get down to the planet.
Why did Beyonder do it? Do we find
so
that out?
we were going to I'll get into a little bit of history of the Beyonder. In this, we don't know anything. He's the Beyonder.
Yeah.
Over time, because comic books can't just leave well enough alone, they've basically like given you everything you need to know about the Beyonder. Turns out the Beyonder is an Inhuman. That
haven't they gone and retconned his shit like multiple times?
I still think he's an Inhuman. He's one of the OG. He's like a mutant Inhuman. So a mutant Inhuman is more powerful than a regular Inhuman. So when a mutant Inhuman goes through the Terrigen Mists, they become like incredibly powerful. So he's one of those. He's a mutant Inhuman who went through the Terrigen Mists and suddenly became. So apparently Black Bolt should have knows him. Okay, so this is a guy who he came to Earth. He saw Earthlings, like kind of wanted to understand them. So he does the first Secret Wars. Then he still didn't get a lot of understanding for them. So he does the second Secret Wars, where he wants to come down to the planet and kind of like make himself real and see what happens. Yeah. Get Jerry curl, wear really ugly clothing, that kind of stuff. Be drawn by Al Milgrom, all the worst things. Yeah. And then I think they've had him come back again.
Huh.
And I have not read it, but it deals with something to do with the Cosmic Cube. I don't know. I feel like what they've done now is they've kind of retconned his power base down.
Yeah.
So now he is no longer basically omnipotent God. He is, I don't know, maybe along the level of some of the more like higher powered beings in the Marvel universe. So I don't know, who would that be? Living Tribunal, like Galactus, like kind of in that vein, maybe?
Yeah, probably.
So, which kind of sucks. I liked it better when he was just the Beyonder.
Yeah, me too.
Great shot. Well, I'll save it till that episode. All right. So this page you picked. Why'd you pick this page?
Because this is where they really focus on Magneto for the first time, and they're saying, "Oh, why is this villain here?" And I was wondering that myself because I had been reading X-Men, and Magneto was always, super evil and bad, and why is he with the fucking superheroes? It didn't make any
This is
sense.
a little bit about Magneto at this time. So this is comes on the heels of X-Men 180, but in 150, 30 issues prior, Magneto had drowned a submarine of Russian soldiers. They had fired on his land, and he basically just said boop and sunk them to the bottom of the ocean.
Right.
So a lot of the Avengers, they all think that Magneto, they call Magneto a murderer. They
Murder,
say
yeah.
he's a murderer. And then what's funny is then 20 issues after all this, he becomes an X-Men. He's like, now he's, I don't think he gets kind of acquitted, or I can't remember how they do it, but he becomes a good guy in a sense, an issue. So this is kind of the in-between period of him being a really bad villain and kind of transitioning into like being the Magneto of, kind of a gray lines Magneto.
Yeah.
I love this because like he says, but perhaps everyone except for Thor. I'm as strong as all of you except for Thor.
I love those little nuggets that they throw in like that.
Yeah, that's what really drove us to start digging into like power bases and who
Mm-hmm.
could beat who. And we would dig through those Marvel universes trying to figure out who could lift more, who had the biggest power base,
Class 100 strength.
who got class 100 strength. And then what's cool is like you go down to the bottom panel and all of a sudden you've got the X-Men kind of being like, look, he's a dick, but he's our dick.
Yeah. It like
And then
and there's that divide that starts.
right, already, like right away. Like it's crazy that this immediately goes into like a divide. But hey, we have to say the Beyonder put Magneto on their side.
Yep.
Kind of weird, right? I mean, what do you think? Do you think he knows what's in his heart, kind of a thing? Why do you think he did that?
I think so. I think that the Beyonder probably, he could tell that he had good intentions. He's not a pure bad guy.
All right. So after this page, let's see. Let me go see what else we got here. It's really great because in the beginning of this issue, or when they get to the world, it's like a lot of them are kind of pairing off. They're all kind of like, what do we do? Let's figure out what's going on. And this includes the villains too. They are kind of landing, being like, what the fuck's going on? The villains, weirdly enough, discover there's like a bad guy base already set up for them.
Yeah,
With
they
like
got a leg
tons
up.
of like you see Doc. It's good the little touches they do because they show like Doc Ock. He's like holding a piece of equipment. And he's like, "There's so many weapons in here," because
Right.
he's a science. He thinks like that, And so, let's see. So then we get to we go back to the heroes. They're all just dicking around, standing out in the middle of nowhere, just arguing with each other. And we get this page, which is really great. I picked this page because what I now this is right in my wheelhouse. Okay, this is like so far in my wheelhouse. This is where the good guys pick a leader. And this is where my undying fucking love of Captain America came from, right here. Because all these dudes stand around and they go, we need to pick a leader. First, they go with Reed. And Reed's like, I got a pregnant wife, plus I'm Reed Richards. Why would you ever follow me? Kind of a thing. Then they go to Hulk. Weirdly, Reed suggests Hulk, which I think is weird.
I know.
Why do you think he did that?
Because he's like the second smartest guy there.
Okay, yeah, that's true. And Hulk, who we know is a little compromised at the moment, is like, I don't, hey guys, I would fucking lead you guys because I could, because I'm the best. But, I don't really want to do it. And so since I don't want to do it all, I won't do it,
Yeah.
And then like Wasp, who is actually the leader of the Avengers at the time, is like, I'm a woman, and it's 1985, it's 1984. I can't be front and center of this group, okay, because 1984. No, but she's like, I'll defer to Captain America, and the reason is because we don't know anything, and this dude has been through like wars, and like he's a natural leader.
Yeah.
And and then they go to Cap, and of course Cap's like, hey, bro, I'm humble. What about Professor X? And, you know, they all basically end up agreeing, except for Wolverine, because he's a dick, that they're going to follow Captain America. And
I love
you
how
know,
Thor stands up for him.
oh, always, right? We always, this is like one of the best because we do get to see this recurring theme happens until today. I mean, until today's comic books, where Thor always is like, look, bro, like Cap is my dude. And I will follow him till the end of the earth, to Hades itself, my friends. And so I love this part. I mean, tons of dialogue. Look at all this dialogue.
I know. That's a lot of reading.
I don't even know if they do this in a comic today, you know, if they would put this much dialogue in there. It's so much, but it tells you everything you need to know about this like world, you know, or about like this group and Cap. It's such an amazing page. All right, let's see here. So we just did the leaders of them. Now let's go over. So Doom has returned to the bad guy base. He picked himself up, dusted himself off. He was like, oh shit, I just like totally got snuffed out by the Beyonder, but I'm cool. I had a force field on, of course.
Yeah, he wakes up next to Galactus, and who's still out cold.
Which apparently Dr. Doom could just like wake up and be like, oh, excuse me. And then just like Galactus is still like out cold. And so Doom heads back to the villain base, and he's like, hey guys, you got to help me like get the Beyonder beast so we could like get all this power. And they're like, yeah, but we're regular villains and we just want to go beat up all these heroes. So they basically are planning an attack on the heroes. And Doc Doom is like, nah.
Don't bother fighting them. He's trying to talk them into not fighting them and going after the Beyonder.
Yeah. And so he fucking is like, well, then fuck you guys. He shoots them a couple. I think he like blows them up, or because Doom is such a dick, he like blows them up and takes off. And then he's like, I'm gonna
tantrum.
You picked this page, and I want to know why you picked this page. I love this page, but I mean, I want to know why you picked these panels.
Well, so that was like the beginning of Kang and how he, you know, the double crossing's already begun. And maybe this is why I like Survivor so much, because it's like that's how it was. And I liked how Doom's mentality, where he's just like, fuck all y'all, I'm gonna go do my thing and get that power.
Well, here he's saying even like, all right, bitches, if you guys aren't gonna deal with me, I'm gonna go find Reed Richards and like talk to him, because he at least is smart enough to know what's going on.
And I was all excited about that. I was like, yeah, that's cool. You know, I like when the villains kind of team up with the superheroes for a common good. I always like those kind of stories. And so I was excited for that.
What I liked about this page was kind of the design of the ship.
Yeah.
And of course, all the zip tone is all over this page. It's like nonstop zip tone. If you guys don't know about zip tone, back in the day, Grant and I got obsessed with zip tone for a while. Zip tone are these little dots that are on all these like shading areas. And back in the day, dudes would draw their drawings and then take what is basically a sticker of all dots, and they would cut out the shapes of the like where the guy's outline was. They would like put the sticker over the guy, and then with an X-Acto they would like cut out these pieces to create this like dot pattern. There was no such thing as Photoshop back then.
Yeah, now fools do the same thing but with the computers in 2 seconds. But back then it was all X-Acto knife. And
yeah. In fact, Grant and I, like I said, got obsessed with this stuff, and we probably zip toned a million things for a while. Yep. There was, I'm sure, a million of our drawings had zip tone all over it. No, and we could only find it. We could only find it out in the city. What was the name of that place?
Was it Flax?
Flax. Yes, we could only. We were like, gotta go to Flax to get the zip tone.
The shit was expensive, and we used to shove extra sheets in the sleeves. And
oh my god. What were we doing? We were so funny. So Doom takes off. He heads to the heroes. Heroes are like, Doom, fuck you. All right, we get out of here, Doom. We don't like you. And so he's like, of course, Doom is like, well, fuck you. And so he blows them up. I forgot. There was a scene. First, Kang explodes Doom's ship. They say it's like a nuclear blast. So the heroes, being heroes, go to try and find out what's going on with that explosion. Yeah. And this is why I picked this panel. This is when they're all like, one. I know. they're like, hey, let's go check out what's going on over where this explosion happened. So Storm lifts most of them with her wings,
Yep.
apparently. And yet at the same time, Iron Man carries 3 of them on a rock, which I thought was really interesting. Thor is carrying nobody.
I know. Thor.
Thor's carrying nobody. Hulk is carrying the Thing, which is kind of crazy. And Spider-Man is tagging along on the back of Hulk. He's the best. He's the best. And like, I love that this panel because it just shows like, how are these guys all going to get from one place to another?
Right.
It's because a lot of these dudes can't fly. I also love that She-Hulk is wearing a unitard through this whole thing too, which is really good.
And where's Professor X's wheelchair?
Oh shit, they were like, leave that shit behind and then we'll just lay you on the ground when we get there. Is that cool? You're cool with that, right, Prof?
Lay him down.
Just lay him down. It's cool. Yeah, so then they get to where Doom's at, and Doom is like, nah, later days for you guys, and he explodes him. And then let me see here. So I got one more panel. I gotta find it, of course, because things and stuff and reasons. There we go. So he explodes them, and then they're like all. What's funny in this book is how dudes get hurt. Like there's like a big fight, and like like the first explosion that Doom does, he like kind of hobbles some of them, and so the heroes are already kind of limited in their okay, where the hell? Bring window to front. Sharing is paused. Hang on, sorry. Sorry about that. Let's see here.
Zoom.
There we go. Can you see that? No, you
No.
cannot. I know you can't. Shh, be quiet, Grant. This is technology, I tell you. All right, let's try this again. Here we go. Let's try this. How about that? Can you see that? There we go.
Yes.
All right, so then after they're attacked, you see like at the top panel, Doom flying off, and you see like kind of Torch is out and Iron Man's knocked down, and then boom, last page. Look at this. I'm sure you picked this page because of this badass final panel.
Yep, it's beautiful.
I didn't even. You know what's funny? I totally forgot that. I thought Lizard bounced way earlier. He's still there.
Yeah.
He's a weird one that they brought in. We didn't really talk about him because he does show up like a lot in the later issues, but he's a random.
He's very random.
At the time, like he wasn't even Lizard. I don't think. I think he was Kirk Connors, and like so he just shows up there and is not even. He hasn't been a bad guy for a while. I don't think.
Mm-hmm. Or he was just a tragic story.
Right, like they basically like forced him back into being the Lizard in this. In this book. Yeah, this is a great panel. I love it. I love that they're using some of this. So this is Doc Ock has found all these weapons, and Kang has obviously found, there's his Dr. Doom exploding gun that he used. And I love these like tripod weapon, like battle thing they found.
And why couldn't they make that for Secret Wars toys?
And that's the thing, is they wanted them to really like do a lot of play sets and vehicles and, create things in the book that then would like translate over to the toys. And yet the toys that they came out with were nothing like these things.
There was no Wrecking Crew, arguably the best looking characters. That would have been amazing.
There was no Lizard. I would have killed for a Lizard.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they didn't.
Was there a Molecule Man?
No Molecule Man.
One of the main characters.
I know.
I'd much rather have like Molecule Man than a fucking Kang. We'll talk about that
when we get to the toys. Yeah, we'll definitely talk about that. So that's the first issue of Secret Wars. Really, just an incredible like comic book. I remember, to this day, like reading it and just being so fucking excited for the rest of the series.
Could not wait for each issue to come out. It was crazy. Yeah.
And the second issue, weirdly enough, I remember, we'll talk about it a little bit, but as I remember, it was a little hard to find because I don't know if they had printed as many, they didn't know if it was going to be as big of a success. So I remember it being harder to find the second issue of this, but we'll talk about that when we talk about issue 2. So if you guys enjoyed this episode of the Geek Savants Present Secret Wars, just go ahead and leave us a comment or a comment on our Facebook page or whatever. Just leave us a like. And yeah, I can't wait to talk about the rest of this series with you, Granty.
Yeah, and if any of you out there watching and listening want to comment and put your 2 cents in on what you think about certain parts of an issue, definitely do that. And
Yeah,
if
as
you have questions,
we got
we'll talk about that too.
yeah, we got 2, 3, 4 coming up in the next couple of weeks, and then so if you guys know some fun facts about it, or if you want us to specifically address like something in that issue, a panel or a character beat, just let us know, and we'll go ahead and dive deep into it. Cool. All right. Well, we'll see you guys next time. Yeah. Bye, everybody.
Bye.